Hi, I'm Doug Brown, Chairman of Paradigm Associates. Thank you for joining me on this overview of Paradigm. At Paradigm, we make a distinction between goal setting and goal achieving, because if your experience is anything like ours, far more people set goals and hit them. Almost looking at it overly simplistically, do people have the attitudes that are conducive to hitting their goals? And do they have the skills? Do they have the technical knowledge? Do they have the business acumen? To what degree can they manage and lead people? And to what degree do they understand sales and marketing? Because if somebody says, look, Doug, my people are pumped up like Macy's balloons, we're technical whizzes, we can read a P&L like nobody's business, we're management mavens and sales and marketing gurus, my question's real simple. Why aren't you where you want to be? What's wrong with this picture? In a larger organization, it's not unusual at all to have people working across purposes without even recognizing it. There's a group of people that are playing around with strategy, a group of people that are managing people, a group of people that are out trying to get customers or clients or members or patients, depending on the segment that we're working in, and a group of people managing systems. And quite candidly, those walls may as well be 10 feet high and 10 feet thick, and the right hand literally doesn't know what the left hand is doing. For those organizations that are interested in terms of a strategic plan, yeah, we can help you to develop one. But oftentimes, if I'm talking to an exec and I say, is there a strategic plan in place? The answer is yeah. But if I ask the follow-up question, what, if any, resemblance is there between what it says in the plan and the way people are actually operating on a day in and day out basis, so we can help people operationalize it? Inside of that strategy, what's our customer service strategy, taking into account both internal as well as external customers? And I suspect we may be on the same page here, but just to make sure, if I was reporting to you on a day in and day out basis, we'd have a customer relationship. Because if I don't keep you satisfied, you're going to vote with my feet and help me get happily involved in a new career path in another organization. And if you don't keep me satisfied, I've got two options. Yeah, I can walk, or I can go on silent strike and only give you the minimal acceptable to stay employed, but you're never going to get spectacular things from me. Inside of that, what's our strategy for managing people? So we don't say something as ridiculous as firings will continue until morale improves. What's our strategy for managing systems so they're both user-friendly to the outside world that's attempting to do business with us? And what's the interdepartmental strategy? Does it take an act of Congress in order to get things done around here? Where those things overlap is where our satisfied customers live, both inside as well as outside the organization. For those organizations that are interested in our approach of strategic planning, we really start with, what's the vision? Where are you really trying to take your organization 5, 10, 20 years out? And probably the distinction I use most frequently is, how challenging would it be to put together a jigsaw puzzle if I never showed you the picture out of the box? And oh, by the way, did I tell you that there's not going to be any straight edges on this jigsaw puzzle? And just to make it fun, I'm going to include all kinds of pieces in the box that don't belong in the puzzle at all. It wasn't all that long ago we used to know what a bank did, we used to know what an insurance broker did, we used to know what a stockbroker did. But in our conversations with execs, what we're finding is people are spending more time inventing their business than they are managing it. Once we have that in place, we tap into the mission statement, if you will, in terms of the kind of the how you're going to do that. Then we go into, what are the critical success factors? What are those 5 to 8 things that have to be in place to make this mission and vision come true unequivocally? And they have to pass 2 tests. They have to pass the necessity test, and they have to pass the sufficiency test. So let's say in the case of your organization, there's 5. That if you did this and this and this and this and this, will you be exactly where you want it to be? If the answer to that question is yes, great. Can I take any one of them away and still have you achieve the vision and mission? If the answer of that question is yeah, you really only have 4 critical goals, not 5. When people start to talk to me in terms of, oh boy, wait till you see us restripe the parking lot, boy, I know I'm dealing with a lost ball in the high weeds. They just don't get it. That then drives down to the intermediate milestones. Let's pretend we're running a business here. What are you really trying to get done in the next typically 18 to 36 months? dollars, locations, customer base. I mean, let's get serious about building the business. That then starts to drive down into goals, key results, and action steps and metrics. In fact, normally we'll tap into and use the balanced scorecard unless somebody has something in place. That then ties in and populates the budget, and then that goes out to the other parts of the operation, and that's what drives the planning in those areas as well. You'll recognize the graphic on the left. Moving your gaze to the graphic on the right, the strategy really defines who are those loyal, satisfied customers that you're trying to get and keep. And all the interaction between your staff and the outside world has been dubbed moments of truth or points of connection, depending on who you've been reading. We work with organizations to make sure that they've got the leadership and management systems and skills in place to keep your internal people satisfied, so they'll do a great job of keeping your customer satisfied. But we're also charter members of the Total Quality Institute, and we understand that good people in bad process is going to win every time. So we never really know where we're going to get started when we first start down the path of a conversation. In a typical larger organization, it's not unusual at all to have people working at cross purposes, leading to a lot of functional competition, a lot of MBO type of an approach, top down, kind of winners and losers, hooray for me, screw you. I don't know what you did when it was on your side of the wall. It was fine when it was on my side of the wall. Kind of internally focused in a silo or stovepipe organizational structure, as opposed to when everything's in alignment, almost looking at it as almost like an organism, where all the points really and pieces really are interconnected. Focusing on common goals. My God, let's talk about prevention and not just damage control. Long-term planning is more than what are we going to do after lunch, and really keeping our focus on the customer and really engaging our employees. In larger organizations, it's not unusual at all that some kind of a communication challenge arises. And yeah, we can go up and down the silo or the stovepipe to solve our problems. The challenge is our customers are not doing business with us vertically. They're doing business with us horizontally. So who is managing the white space in between the silos? That's where the great majority of customer dissatisfaction rears its ugly head. I was working with the president of a savings and loan here in New Jersey and his 6 direct reports. With the exception of one person who had only been a member of the top team for 3 years, everybody else had been a member of the top team for more than 7 years, if you get a mental picture of who I was working with. And we were doing pretty straightforward management development. A couple of weeks into the process, I had given them all a sheet of paper and I said, would you write down the top 4 or 5 goals and objectives as you understand them? And would you please put them in priority order? When I collected and compiled the information, there was more than 27 distinct entries, with the president's first and second not listed as higher than 4th by any of the people that reported to him. I literally thought he was going to have a conniption. I literally watched all of the blood drain out of his face. And I said to him, I said, Bill, if there's this kind of diversity of opinion among you guys who are allegedly running the bank, what would I get if I talked to the tellers and the platform people? And if they don't know what you're trying to accomplish, how can they possibly help you get there? I said, I don't know too many ne'er-do-wells that wake up in the morning and say to themselves, I could hardly wait to get to work today so I could really screw things up. I said, I don't. I said, but imagine this. If we were able to take all of the energy that people are already bringing to the table every day and really focus that on the top 4 or 5 goals and objectives, what's reasonable to happen to those results? And he thought about it for a second. He said, they'll improve. I said, okay, Bill, you got that one right. Let me ask you the next question. If we then take those improved results or that information about those improved results and feed it back into the energy pool, do you expect the energy level to rise or fall? He said, oh, it'll definitely go up. I said, okay, if the energy level increases, what do you expect to happen to the results? He said, oh, it'll get even better. I said, Bill, it's that simple. I'll be the first to admit, we're not talking rocket science here. It's so simple, that's why it actually works. In order for the organization to become all that it's capable of becoming, Not only do we need to have the strategy that talks about business ops and organizational resources, but we need to have the interpersonal skills and the technical skills and the management skills. Over the course of time, I've watched people try to solve their problem by strictly throwing training at it. I've had other people say, give me a strategic plan and get out of my way. But we find that unless these things are integrated, people are going to leave a ton of money on the table. We can do that same thing from a sales or business development perspective. We really start out, what's the mission for the selling organization? And oftentimes people look at me like I just grew 17 heads. It's like, hey, Doug, did you look at their business card? It has like name, comma, sales. What part of that did you not understand? And I say, well, humor me. Do you care where in the world somebody's calling on somebody? Well, yeah. Do you care how the stuff's being priced? Well, certainly. Do you care what kind of terms are being offered? Oh my gosh, yeah. What kind of gross margins are being maintained? And I ask them the question, is any of that written down? And they get this tremendous desire to start counting ceiling tiles. So sometimes we really have to step back and say, let's take a look at the behavior of your selling team, if you will. Are they really going after the market segments that have been identified as part of your strategic plan? And is your organization structured in a way that makes it easy for them to bring in business? You can't imagine how many conversations I've had with CEOs or with salespeople over the last 35 years that basically went, holy mackerel, Doug, these guys just keep putting one hoop in front of me after another, after another, after another. I'm just trying to make the cash register ring. Why are they making it so hard? So sometimes I never know where we're really going to get started. Simultaneously, we have to make sure that people have the interpersonal skills, the product knowledge. Now that's typically not going to be provided by us, but it's got to be provided by somebody. And then all of the requisite selling skills. But it's all about how do we optimize the sales performance of the organization. As you take a look at the graphic on the left, we certainly understand that an enterprise is interested in making money, but we also recognize that people are really the heart of the organization. So as more organizations are trying to optimize the performance of the enterprise, they've been doing so by going to optimize the performance of teams and cross-functional teams. Looking at the graphics on the right carefully, they were all created very much on purpose. You have somebody who's literally recruiting and bringing other people into the organization. Man, this is a fantastic place to work. If you'll notice the two figures in the center, neither one of them are sitting back. It's how fast are we making this happen together? If you look in the graphic in the upper right, all the figures are gold because if any one of them stops totally fulfilling their role, the pyramid will collapse. So it's not a matter of who is more important than who. We've all got a role to play, and we have to totally fulfill that role or the pyramid will collapse. And finally, let's not forget to celebrate success along the way. Well, that kind of led us to, if we want to optimize the performance of the enterprise by optimizing the performance of teams, since teams are obviously made up of people, we have to talk about the skills and knowledge, and obviously those are critical elements. But what we find is most organizations are not very good at tapping into all the talents that people bring to the table. And last but not least, you have the attitudinal piece. We've all known people in our lifetime that bring really solid skills and knowledge to the table. But if their attitude says, I want to be any place on the planet except doing what I'm doing, how is that going to play out? And we've all known people that while they were not necessarily the sharpest knife in the drawer, their attitudes were just so phenomenal and they outworked people and got the job done that way. For those organizations that are interested in terms of our approach to sustainability, we're really going to take a look at the outside of this diagram first. At the people spot, what we see is an awful lot of reaction, a lot of firefighting going on in the organization. At the process level, tends to be pretty well departmental focused, not a lot of broad strategic focus. People have a tendency to look at their own problem through the lens of, boy, just give me another tool, boy, and then watch what I can do. And in the environmental, it tends to be, oh my Lord, this is going to kill us. What do we need to do to comply? Or it can play out differently, almost in terms of the bright, shiny object phase and go, you know what, just hang in there and senior manager will get a new shiny thing to change over the next month, and we're never going to have to worry about that. What we find is where people and process live is where innovation lives, and speed and collaboration and so on. Where process and environment live is where alignment and effective supply chains kick in, and where systems thinking lives. And where people and environment live is really where employee engagement begins to thrive, until we have the sweet spot of sustainability. CEOs will typically say, well, this is really intriguing, but where do we get started? And I realize this is going to almost look like the spinner from the game of life, but it really helps us assess where are you starting the journey from? Because we never want to ask you to scrap everything and kind of start as if you never had a successful business before you and I ever met. So we always want to start from where people are. If the purpose of every organization is to create and maintain loyal, satisfied customers while generating adequate profitability today and improved profitability in the future, the 12 o'clock point is, do we have a strategy to be able to get and keep those loyal, satisfied customers? The 2 o'clock point is structure. Do we have the boxes on an org chart that allow us to execute that strategy? The 5 o'clock point is people. Do we have the right people working in those boxes to execute that strategy to gain and keep loyal, satisfied customers? The 7 o'clock point is processes. Do we have our people working in elegant processes? So we're not asking them to do something like roll bowling balls uphill all day long and wondering why they're so tired at 5 o'clock. And finally, the 10 o'clock point is the rewards and recognition system. Does the rewards and recognition system support people that are working in the processes that have either been identified by management or at the very, very least blessed by management? And all of that swims in the ocean of effective leadership. Where it's appropriate, we're really trying to create a triple win between the organization and the people in it. On the professional side, stepping away and giving people a chance to take a look at their development of their people skills. How effectively are they managing time? Their selling or influencing skills, depending on their role in the organization. What does it mean for them to be pushing the rock in terms of process improvement? And last but not least, what does it mean for them to be productive and not just busy? Because an awful lot of people confuse motion with progress and activity with results. Simultaneously, we give people the chance to take a look at, hey, what do I want to be when I grow up on my personal side? In terms of financial and career, mental self-development, social life, physical health, family life, ethical, spiritual development, with the whole idea in mind is as somebody gets even better on professionally, organizational results improve. That gives the organization the ability to increase comp and bennies and growth opportunities and all that kind of good stuff. Now people have the bucks to satisfy more of their personal goals and objectives. And as they're satisfying even more of their personal goals, what happens to their commitment to become even better professionally? People haven't fought with me for years and years and years that if somebody's professional life is going to hell in a handbasket, that slops over and affects their personal life. And if their personal life is going through some rocky times, guess what? That slops over and affects their professional behavior as well. I hope this has provided you some insight and food for thought. Where are you trying to drive your organization over the next couple of years? That's a question I would love to have a discussion with you about. Thanks for watching. We look forward to hearing from you.